went off to the locations, it was time to go to the venue. We got married at the Parish Art Museum in Watermill, which is a really modern art museum that's sort of a long barn structure on the side of the highway. It's pretty much this kind of like concrete with black wood, a very empty raw space. So in order to make it into a wedding venue, you have to bring in your own tables, your own flowers. You even have to set up your own cook tent because there's no kitchen there. So it was a really DIY project.
A lot of lighting.
We didn't do it ourselves. It really took a village to put the wedding together. We had decided a month after we picked our venue that we didn't want to have our wedding in the conventional spot where weddings happen, which is outside at the museum. There's kind of a spot where the sun is setting where most brides and grooms set up their altar or huppah or whatever they're using, and they walk down that little aisle there and they get married outside. We were going to do that, but then we came across this really dark theater room inside of the museum. And just to kind of give you a visual of this space, this is the room where most brides and grooms set up a disco ball and do their after party. So it's like pitch black, the windows black out, a dark, dark room that looks like you're outside in the middle of the night. We walked into that room and our planners said, we've always wanted to do a wedding ceremony in this room, in the dark, but no bride and groom wants to do it. So we've never kind of fulfilled our dream of doing it. And my first thought was, heck no, I'm not getting married in the dark. I've actually always envisioned my wedding ceremony, and not only was it outside, but it was like on the beach, like in the bright sunshine, naturally lit. I love natural light, as you know from our apartment. So I never envisioned that I would do a wedding ceremony inside, let alone in the dark. But we thought about it some more, and pretty soon we started to visualize what this might look like if we did this ceremony indoors in the dark and had really dramatic lighting and made it really moody and emotional and twinkly. And pretty soon we couldn't get the idea out of our heads, and we couldn't imagine doing the wedding anywhere but the room. And then to make it even more special, we came up with this idea that how great would it be if instead of setting up our huppah, we had a huppah because we had a Jewish wedding, instead of setting up our huppah at the end and having a long aisle with seats kind of facing the normal direction, what if we put our friends and family in a full circle around us, and we did our wedding in the round with us standing in the middle under a circular huppah. And we had this idea, we kind of presented it to our event designer, and he was like, I know exactly what to do.
By the way, you're saying we, like it was totally you. If it had not gone well, I would be totally fine with you saying we, but it went very well, so you could take full credit for it.
Well, I just love circles, and this was probably the part of the night that I had thought the most about, and I was the most excited for because I had no idea what to expect. We're readjusting quickly. It's very sandy.
Yeah.
The way we set up the room was that there were actually multiple aisles that you could walk down. So after everyone was in place and it was time for me and my parents to enter, everyone stood up, and I guess the rabbi indicated that I was going to be coming in through another door. So everyone sort of turned to face the door where I was coming in, and when we opened that door, that was the door where the sunset was setting behind. So as soon as we opened that door, I mean, just think of being in a pitch black room with sunlight streaming in behind you. I'm assuming it looked kind of like a beam of light coming from behind us, framing our bodies, and I'm assuming it just looked very dramatic. I'm really excited to see a video of it and some more professional photos, but I have to say, so standing outside of that door was the moment of the day when I finally got nervous. After a whole day of not being nervous at all, I was standing with my parents. My mom was on my right, my dad was on my left. I was trying to listen through the door because we were trying to hit a certain music cue. I walked down the aisle to the song I Will Follow You Into the Dark by Death Cab for Cutie, which was very fitting because I was following Michael into the dark room. And bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you. Bless you. Bless you. And I was trying to listen because the song before us was Blackbird by the Beatles, and I wanted to hear the song change so I knew when to go. But I had nothing to worry about because this was a choreographed dance for our wedding planners. And basically, I had two wedding planners standing right in front of me and my parents with strings so that they could pull the door at the same time, both sides would swing open at the same time and reveal me and my parents standing there. And they were communicating by cell phone with the other planners who were on the other side sending the bridal party down, giving them the exact cue of when to open the door, and it was like a stage performance. And I was just blown away because they opened the doors at the exact right moment. I Will Follow You Into the Dark was starting, and I think I said to my parents, my heart is going to fall out of my chest because it was beating so loud that I thought I might have a heart attack, or I don't know, I thought something bad was gonna happen. I don't even know if nervous is the word. Energized. I was so ready for that moment. I had literally dreamed of those doors opening. And, sand. Actually, the best thing about being in the bride's position in that case is as the sun is streaming in, even though I was probably a silhouette to most people, I could see everyone's faces because the sun was hitting everyone. I just saw people's smiling faces looking at us as I walked with my parents to be given to my husband. Fiance at the time. I remember my dad kind of stepped on my dress at one point. We got to the end, my parents hugged Michael and then hugged me, and then everyone sat down and it was just the two of us and our rabbi beneath the huppah. And the moment I stepped up onto the platform, it was like we stepped onto a new planet.
The way the lighting was and the moment and everything, it just made it so that the ceremony we could really enjoy just between the two of us. There were moments, especially during our vows, when our rabbi stepped aside off the platform, I think entirely. And so it was just the two of us up there, and the way that the room was lit, whenever I looked at Lucie, I could kind of see people in the background, but not really. So it was kind of just like the two of us up there. And I don't know about you, but I just kind of, for most of it, forgot that we were surrounded by 200 people.
Yeah.
And it just kind of felt like we were talking about and professing our love for each other to each other privately in a way. Obviously not completely, but it just felt very natural.
There was some Hebrew spoken, there were prayers read, we did the classic drinking of the wine, but I would say that it was a little bit more spiritual than religious. And I remember my favorite moment beneath the huppah was when our rabbi asked us to put our heads together and to take 10 deep breaths, and just the whole room went for a moment of silence. And then he said one really beautiful poetic line that I will always remember, orienting us where we are in the world. And so he brought us from the Milky Way galaxy, bringing us down to planet Earth, taking us even further to America, and then we were on Long Island, which he called God's last brushstroke, which I thought was so beautiful. And that's where we were standing. We were on Long Island beneath this beautiful huppah, surrounded by our friends and family. The ceremony was very much about love and about us bringing our love around the world and spreading the love that we share to other people. All of our bridesmaids and groomsmen and family were in the front row, and I could see their faces illuminated. And then I saw a few people in the surrounding rows, but I think my biggest memory was reading my vows to Michael, because something just happened in that moment, and as I read him my vows, no one else was there. I just have this memory of seeing Michael and then seeing the glowing huppah kind of over his head, and it was just him and the twinkling lights and darkness. The best part, at the very end of a Jewish ceremony, the man slams on glass. I guess, is it always the man?
We asked the question, I forget. So
I was certainly not wearing shoes that were conducive to slamming glass, so
I asked
he did
you
it.
Actually if we both wanted to do it.
Oh.
Remember?
Yeah, no, my shoes would have broken. I had these beautiful shoes by this amazing woman, Lucie, and she engraved the bottom that said L&M and 921. They were really special. So Michael slammed on the glass, and then he doesn't remember, so I cannot wait to see the photos and videos of this moment. But if I'm just going to imitate kind of what he did, he went, whoa! Is that how you remember it?
I mean, I have no recollection of that moment. I think I was just really, really excited. Yeah, I think before the ceremony, I definitely wasn't worried about how any of it was going to go. And we had walked through it a few times. But I also, I don't know, it felt like we were kind of winging it to some extent. Like we knew that there were 10 different things that we were going to have to do during the ceremony, and we knew that there was some order to it and that our rabbi would orient us. but we didn't really know exactly what we were doing. And it all just kind of felt right once we were up there.
Yeah. Truthfully, I think doing it in the dark was an amazing idea, and it made it really special, but it did make it so that in the few days after the wedding, I couldn't really close my eyes without seeing it, which was kind of sad because we kept saying, like, we're not going to be sad after the wedding, we're just going to be so excited and we're starting a new journey. But to be honest, it was a little sad, and it wasn't because it was over and we had nothing to do, or it was mostly because it was such a special night, and it was the only night in our lives when that group of people was going to be together celebrating our love. But we always have the memory. We always have the memory.
It was really nice, not that we needed any sort of validation for doing it in that room, but it was really nice to, once we saw all of our guests and started enjoying the party and all of that stuff after the fact, people seemed to really enjoy kind of a different experience with the ceremony. Obviously, us having been together for 10 years, our relationship is such that it is a little bit different, I think, than a lot of people that end up getting married at that stage of their relationship. And so I think that really came through in our vows to each other.
So the ceremony ended, we ran out of the room, we went for a private moment. So normally after you get married, they kind of put you in a special room where it's just the two of you with some champagne and some food, and they give you a moment to just reflect on what just happened. And that moment was so fun. I just kicked my feet up on Michael like this, and I ate the food because I was really hungry. We just were looking at each other like, you're my husband, and you're my wife. It was crazy. I was like, we're married. We were just sitting in this room talking about what had just happened and how amazing it went and how we felt like our rabbi did such a good job and it was so meaningful and it was so special. And as soon as the private moment was up, I did a hair change. I wanted to switch from my braid, which had my flowers in it, to just wearing my hair down. And as you could probably tell from my braid, because my hair is not that long, I had extensions in the braid, and the plan was when I took the braid out, I was going to keep the extensions in, but I was going to, recurl my hair and wear it down. And I decided with my hair person that my extensions just looked way too long down. Like it looked kind of witchy almost. They were just too long. So he said, don't worry, I'll just cut the extensions when they're in your hair. Once we take the braid out, I'll just give your extensions a brief cut. And I said, okay, great. So we get into this private room and he starts cutting the extensions, and then he just is looking at me like, and he's like, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna give you a quick haircut. And I was like, okay, I really wasn't focusing. I was getting a makeup change and I was just on a high from what had just happened. So I was like, do whatever you want, just make me beautiful. He takes out a razor and just starts all around my head. 3 minutes later, I look to the ground and half of my hair is on the ground. My real hair and the extension hair. Before the wedding, I think my hair was down to here. And I'm pretty excited about that because I really wanted to get a haircut after the wedding, and now I don't have to. My wedding planners came into the room to see how things were moving and if I was almost ready to enter into the party. And they came in and they're like, oh, okay, so you're getting a haircut. Got it, okay. I remember my makeup artist, Stephanie, put this really sparkly eyeshadow on me for the party, and it sort of fell into my eyelids a little, like it was stuck to my eyelashes. So my view through my own eyes was sparkles. It already was kind of sparkly because we had these really pretty lights and it was glowing and nicely lit, but the view through my eyes was just a filter of sparkles. I
feel like, especially doing what we did, where we had hours and hours of photos and obviously getting ready, a lot of that was more for you. It was really important that we had good relationships with the people that we were working with. And it just seemed like such a nice group of people. We needed all of those people to be there during the day to help us with various things. But also it was nice to just have a good vibe around everything that we were doing, from your hair and makeup people to
Lizzie,
to your stylist.
My stylist Lizzie was unbelievable.
To all the party planning people were incredible.
Oh, yeah.
To the videography team and the photographers and obviously our family. Just everyone was so great.
Oh gosh. Sand.
And you don't realize, but you end up spending a lot of time with those people on your wedding day, and so it's really important that not only are they doing the job that you need them to be doing and you want them to be doing, but also that they help you enjoy the day and take it all in.
Yeah. Party time. So what I think was so amazing about the party is that we had planned every aspect of this party, from the plates that the appetizers were served on, to the exact song that was going to play at this moment, to as soon as the last plate goes down, we go into this. And so in my mind, this party was going to be very logistical.
Yeah, one thing.
Very organized. We were going to enter our entrance song as husband and wife, when they say, for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Morris. Woo! We walked into the song 21st Night of September because it was the 21st night of September. And I remember having a vision of us coming in to everyone in their seats, sitting down, looking towards the door, waiting for us, and clapping gently as we walked in. That's how it actually has been at other weddings I've been to.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of thought. But when we were standing outside and the planners were like, okay, they're about to announce you, I just remember hearing the party and being like, there's no way people are in their seats. It sounds like people are up and dancing. And they said, Mr. and Mrs. Morris! And we walk in the room and everyone's on the dance floor. No one's paying attention to us.
Yeah. There's literally no space for us to enter the dance floor.
We're coming up behind people being like, excuse me, we're trying to get in. I think it was actually more exciting for people because it was 1 second we weren't there and then 1 second we were. But from our perspective, it was we came into a party. And pretty much from that minute forward, the dance floor was not empty for 1 minute. The band, we had a band called Brooklyn Sound from Hank Lane Music, and they were unbelievable. Every single one of their songs it was a live band that sounded like every single original recording.
Even better in some cases. And we were dancing for a large majority of it.
I was really happy that I got, for myself and all of my bridesmaids, these sparkly Ked sneakers. So pretty early on, I changed out of my heels and I put on these Keds, and then I was able to dance the full night away with no worries or no blisters or anything like that.
It was great too because we, having been to cocktail hour for 10 minutes, I felt like I was swarmed by people, which was fun, and it was nice to start seeing people that way. But then throughout the night, I feel like we just interacted with most people on the dance floor because most people were just having a great time and enjoying it out there. It was really, really, really special time.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts was another traditional Jewish wedding section is doing the Hora, where you go in a chair next to the bride and groom go together, and the bridal party, or all the men at the wedding, come and lift you up, and you're kind of going up and down. And that was so much fun. I know most people do that at their bar or bat mitzvah, but I didn't have one of those, so it was so much fun. They sent us up, and then they sent our sisters up, and then they sent both sets of our parents up, our moms together and our dads together. So fun.
All of the set pieces and set stuff was cool too. We had our first dance together to Somewhere Only We Know, which was really nice.
In the Hamptons, you have to finish your parties and live music at 11 p.m. So the party ended at 11, and we brought all of our friends and our cousins and all the young people at the wedding back to Michael's house, and we had a s'mores bonfire after party.
Sesh.
It was actually pizza, s'mores, drinks, popcorn. We just hung out until about 3 a.m.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and then the following morning we woke up at 7 a.m., so we got very little sleep, and we went into the ocean with our photographer Dan and did an early morning sunrise photo shoot. I wore my dress from the rehearsal dinner because I really didn't want to ruin my wedding dress, but we went into the water in our dress and his extra tux.
No, it wasn't a tux. My suit that I've had since I was like 16, which was ready to be tossed.
And that was the wedding.
That was the wedding.
And now we're married. So we're husband and wife, and we will be forevermore. And we're on our short little mini moon right now. We're doing our real honeymoon in January 2020. And in the meantime, we're just gonna go to the spa and chill. Comment below if you have any questions about our wedding day. I'm happy to share a lot more. I am going to be sharing more photos and videos on Instagram in the coming weeks, and as soon as we get our video footage, you better believe you'll be getting some videos. I just haven't seen anything yet.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much to everyone who was invested in this wedding and signed up for my newsletter and wanted to be part of it and wanted to get behind the scenes photos and videos. It meant so much to me that you guys cared and wanted to be part of the day, and I hope you felt like part of the day. That's it.
That's it. Simple as that.
See you soon.
See ya.
Mwah.
Mr. and Mrs. Morris out.